Why do I want to invest in you versus any number of silver companies in Mexico or beyond? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference. Today, I am your host, Jamie Keech, and I will be sitting down with Jorge Ramiro Monroy, the CEO of Reyna Silver. We're going to talk about everything Reyna is doing, what investors should be thinking about, what you should be looking for, and we're going to get to know Jorge a little bit. So without further ado, Jorge, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to sit down and chat.
Jamie, thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about our company, and it's great to have the opportunity to speak with you as well.
All right. So for people who've never heard of it, never heard the name Reyna before, give us the 45-second elevator pitch of what Reyna is and what you guys do.
Absolutely. So we're a relatively young company. We went public in June 2020. And the basis of the company was around two assets that were previously explored by Max Silver. We were able to do a deal with Max Silver prior to our IPO. And as part of that deal, Peter McGaw, who's the founder and chief exploration officer of Max Silver, stayed with us as our chief technical advisor. And we've also hired a team of geologists. All have experience working with Max Silver. They're very successful geologists on their own right, and they're full-time with us leading our exploration efforts in Mexico. So we have about $12 million in the bank, and we started drilling our flagship asset, Guigui, and we're in the process of getting permits for drilling our other our other three projects in Mexico. The main theme of the company is high-grade silver and district scale. So looking for silver projects that will make money under any market circumstances.
Okay, so you've assembled a great technical team. You've got 4 assets in Mexico.
Actually, one of them is in Nevada.
So 3 in Mexico and 1 in Nevada?
Yes.
So I guess my first question is, why silver and why are you focused on Mexico specifically?
So, prior to putting the company together, prior to putting Reyna Silver together, this is about 2017. And obviously, silver was, in my mind, very clearly an undervalued asset. And
silver would have been about $12 an ounce or something like that at that point. Yeah.
Just about, sort of fluctuating between 12 and 14. 15 was like, wow, what a great price for the producers. So one thing that was immediately evident was, producers are producing at $15 per ounce on average in those days. And so when I went to Canada, spent a summer in Vancouver and had an opportunity to speak to a lot of the CEOs of the mid-tier producers for silver in Canada, as well as some of the producers in Mexico. And I realized that, the industry, the sector of the primary silver producers was really hurting. Most of the companies just barely scraping by, making either no money or losses or break even. Very few years between 2013 and before last year had companies made money. As a result of that, there was very little money invested in exploration. And so immediately there, we saw an opportunity. And then when we looked at silver, for a number of reasons, Mexico is an incredible place for silver. First of all, geologically, the silver deposits there are very high grade. But also, you have almost 400 years of continuous mining by the Spanish, where the Spanish mined, especially the north of the country, but really almost the whole country very intensely. And at the time, they didn't have the technology to get very deep. So what they did is, to start the deposits in Mexico, a lot of the times, it's a semi-desertic in a lot of the country. So a lot of the outcrops are visible. So the Spanish would follow those and then mine them to maybe 150 meters, 150 meters max. And then after that, either the rock was too hard or it was they hit the water table. So they left those there. But they're an amazing footprint for explorers, because what you have is a situation where you can see a lot of the initial exploration with satellites, because as I mentioned, a lot of it is desertic. And then you can follow through with the work that the Spanish did. I think as a result of that, it's just an incredibly beneficial context to do exploration. And, a lot of people don't realize this, but exploration in Mexico for silver done by Canadians is actually relatively new. Before NAFTA was signed in 1995, very few Canadian companies had done intense exploration there. And as soon as the NAFTA was signed, Mexico reformed their mining code to make it very similar to the Canadian mining code. And that brought a massive wave of exploration that resulted in companies like, Gold Corp finding Los Filos, Torex. The Torex it's a blind discovery, which is now one of the most profitable and largest gold mines in North America. And like that, I can give you dozens of examples.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Mexico it's still massively underexplored. And that's the opportunity that we found, was that, not too many companies have been looking for the next big silver discovery. And, given that Peter McGill has an exceptional track record of high-grade silver in the context of district scale, we thought it would be a great partnership to work with him and his team to look for the next multi-million ounce silver deposit in Mexico.
Well, okay, I think we should talk about that a little bit more, because at Resource Insider, when I'm looking for deals to invest in, probably I would say 50% of my decision comes down purely to the team that's involved, who's running the technical aspects, but also who's involved in managing the company, capital markets, all the complications and hassle of running a publicly traded mineral exploration company. So there's a few names on your team when I was going through your presentation earlier that really, really jumped out to me. Of course, Peter McGill, who you mentioned earlier, but also Doug Kerwin, who, for people who are not familiar with this, is if you could call it this, a world-renowned geologist in as large a way that anyone can be. And he was associated with and worked with the Ivanhoe Group and Robert Friedland for many years, and is responsible and involved with many, many discoveries. So let's talk about how this team came together and what it is you guys are searching for specifically on your assets in Mexico. Yeah.
So obviously Peter McGill, and I think many people will be familiar with him. He is a founder of MAG Silver. He is, has an exceptional track record. I think for those of you who know the history of MAG Silver went public with 3 assets. One of them is their flagship asset, which just went into production. The other 2 are the 2 assets that we now have, Guigui and Batopilas. And Peter had worked for actually a couple of decades before MAG Silver went public to put these districts together. So Guigui and Batopilas are 2 districts that Peter was familiar with since the 80s and early 90s. And he actually took the work of putting the district together claim by claim to make them into a land package that had the potential for a significant discovery.
So he was down there negotiating with local landowners and ejidos, sort of local councils, sort of line by line, packaging this together.
Yeah. So for instance, the Guigui project, which is our flagship, was actually his master thesis and his PhD thesis when he was a young man. So he actually lived at the mine that's adjacent to our property for about a year, mapped the whole property by hand. And then over the years, he put the district together, which is now about 4,000 hectares.
And Peter would be in his 60s now, right?
Yeah, he's in his, I think, mid-60s.
So he's had this in his back pocket and for 30 years waiting to really see progress made here.
Correct. And really the reason why MAG Silver didn't take these 2 projects forward is actually a pretty amazing story. Their flagship asset, Juanicipio, which, as I mentioned, is just gone into production. Mm-hmm. The history there is, Fresnillo, who's their JV partner, had explored it for a number of years. And then they didn't find anything. Peter McGill staked that property takes Max Silver public. I think they raised $5 million initially. And literally on the very first hole, he hits the bonanza zone of that, what is now the highest grade silver mine in the world. And then, that basically took off, and that has been the main focus for Max Silver. It's been quite an arduous path to go into production. It'll be almost 20 years before, it went into production. But that gave us the opportunity, these two assets that we have. Max Silver did do a little bit of exploration, but never in a very sustained fashion. So in the one hand, we were the beneficiaries of about close to $15 million worth of exploration on those two assets. Mm-hmm. And at the time when we were able to do the deal with them, they were in a situation where, they still had quite a lot of funding to get for their main asset. And we were able to do a deal that, perhaps now wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, it looks probably a lot different at $25 silver than it did Absolutely. At $12 silver.
And also they're in a situation where, they're now, close to having revenues and cash flows. But at the time they were still, trying to figure out how they were going to finance their mine to production.
Yeah, of course. So I think it's time we sort of talk about what investors have to look forward to at Reyna Silver. What are you guys going to be doing over the next, call it 12 months? And for those who are not investors but are looking to invest in silver projects, how does Reyna stand out amongst its peers? Why do I want to invest in you versus any number of silver companies in Mexico or beyond?
Yeah, so maybe let me start with that question first. And I think and that's really at the core of why you would look at our company. One thing that I'll mention, Damien, and interesting to know if you agree with me or not, but in my personal opinion, what really drives the share price in our peer group is high-grade silver intersects. It's a very different peer group, the silver exploration equities, compared to the gold exploration equities. Mm-hmm. For a number of reasons. The main reason is there's about, I don't know, between the ASX and the TSX 400 or 500 exploration companies looking for gold. Whereas for silver, there really is just a dozen or so names.
Yeah.
So the market, and then going back to my comment earlier, there has been so little investment done for exploration in silver. If you look at the production grades of, First Majestic, Endeavor Silver, most of the silver producers are producing at, 100, 150 grams per ton silver. That's actually a very low grade. At these prices, it's viable, but at 2019's prices, it's very tough. So The reality is the market is really looking for the next high grade silver discovery. I think the only one in the last 5 years that's of any significance would be Silvercrest. But other than that, there haven't been a large number of silver discoveries. Peter McGaw really believes there's a lot of them still to be found. And I think, going back to your question, why you would look at investing in our company is we've assembled a portfolio of 4 properties, all of which we believe have the potential in the short term for high-grade silver intersects that give you an indication of a district-scale discovery. And then over the long term, we believe that we have the potential for, creating a commercially viable silver deposit in all 4 of our projects.
So I guess is the initial plan to go out there, to start drilling, to hopefully hitting these promising high-grade intercepts and being able to communicate to the market that, there is something real there. That's something that's worth investing the time and money to explore.
Yeah, so we've actually started drilling before Christmas, our flagship asset, Guigui. We're going to do 10,000 meters of drilling there. It's about a 4,000 hectare package, and we're going to do a comprehensive drilling in different targets that actually are showed on our website if anybody wants to see them in detail. And then for our other 3 projects, we started doing sampling, mapping. We actually finished the first stage of exploration at Batopilas and Medicine Springs over before Christmas. and soon we'll be communicating the results of those findings to the market. And then we're permitting those projects. We hope to have them drill ready in the next couple of months. And just given the strength of the silver market, what we think we want to do is have the first round of drilling for those for Guigui as well as for the other 3 projects done by ourselves, because we realize one of our biggest assets is our technical team, obviously Peter McGaw, but also the whole team that we've assembled together. And I think we can add a tremendous amount of value to these projects. And then as we go along, we might choose to spin out, sell, or JV some of them. But I think for this year, going back to your first question, what you have to look for is, first and foremost, the drill campaign at Guigui, 10,000 meters of drilling initially. The idea is to continue drilling for the rest of the year. And then secondly, we would like to have the first 3,000 to 5,000 meters of drilling in each Medicine Springs, Batopilas, and La Reyna. And we think we should be able to be in a position to start drilling within Q1 or early Q2 on our other 3 projects. And as I mentioned,
you're on track to drill 20 to 30,000 meters this year. Am I kind of doing the math on that right?
I would say at least 20,000. And then
that's meaningful. Yeah, yes, really, really meaningful.
And again, the intention for all our drill programs is to look for grade and size. And then, once we establish that, then the next stage will be starting to look at drilling for resource.
So then, for people, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Maybe I'll just make one quick comment, is that other companies are focused on perhaps, generating a small resource and then, move into a small mine. There's a few of those in Mexico. I think our approach is the opposite. Is we're really looking for the potential for a large silver mine with high grade. So this first stage of exploration is very much focused on that.
So for people that are following your story and who are perhaps unfamiliar with silver exploration, what qualifies as high grade? What kind of guidance do you have that people should be looking for? Is it 10 grams per ton? Is it 1,000 grams per ton? What do we want to see here?
Typically you're looking at about 300 grams per ton and above becomes what you would consider high grade. Mm-hmm. To give you an example, I think the highest grade silver deposit in Mexico is Mag Silver's Municipio. That's off the top of my head, it's something like half a kilo of silver with gold and base metal credits that if you were to add them up, come to close to a kilo per ton.
Okay.
The silver crest is something a little bit lower, but still, something above half a kilo. Now, other than Mag Silver's project that's going into production at those grades, you go down the line and there's basically nothing. Well, that's not true. There's not too many that are in production that are much higher than 300 grams. Mm. So anything that's like 300 grams of silver in Mexico, typically you have either gold or base metal credits along with your silver, but that's what you were looking for in terms of silver grades. So
before we got on this call, you mentioned to me you guys have $12 million of cash right now.
Yes.
So you're well financed throughout this next year for these programs. Is that correct?
Yeah. So let's say between now and let's say the summertime, where we would, if we are able to do all the drilling that we want in all our 4 projects, we would still have between 40 to 50% of our cash position intact. And then, of course, the idea is to just keep drilling. But yeah, I would say more than well funded for this initial stage.
Okay, well, we're coming up on our time. So before we say goodbye, what key takeaways should investors have here? If I'm looking to deploy capital into silver projects, why Reyna? Why you guys? What are the final standouts that people should be thinking about when they're looking to invest in this space?
Yeah, I would take a look at Peter McGaw's track record. And, he's somebody, as you said in the beginning, I think in this business, we've all learned to focus on people. He has just an unbelievable track record. Obviously, what he has accomplished in terms of discoveries for Max Silver, but he has also been credited with a geological model to explore this type of CRD silver deposits that we have, which other geologists and other companies have used as a footprint for discoveries. And then I would also look at, as you said earlier, Jamie, we've put together a team that has a very strong board. We have Peter Jones as our chairman. He is a former CEO of Hut Bay Minerals. He's a mining engineer, somebody who's has experience of running multi-billion market cap company. And then we have a strong team in the capital market side. So we've taken great care to make sure we have liquidity. Our liquidity has been very strong. I think, especially in the last few weeks, we've been on average trading about $500,000 worth of stock every day. And so we've tried to put all the elements together that make a successful public company for the benefit of our shareholders. Management, including myself, I'm the single largest shareholder of the company, and we're aligned, we're committed, and we have a portfolio of assets. So we wanted to do it this way so that we have many opportunities to, going back to that point of what makes silver tick is high grade silver intersects and the potential for a district scale deposit. So we wanted to make sure that we have several chances to achieve that on our portfolio of assets. So that would be the key takeaways that I would leave investors with. If anybody wanted to contact me directly, the email at investor relations that's on our website comes directly to my box. So I would be happy to be in contact with you. And also I would direct it to our website. The media part of it has a number of videos with Peter McGaw going in depth on each of our assets. So that's another great resource for you to look at.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jorge. And for people listening at home, that is Reyna Silver. You can check them out at reynasilver.com. Thank you very much. My name is Jamie Keech from Resource Insider, and thanks for watching the Vancouver Resource Investment Conference 2021. Thanks, Jorge.
Thank you, Jamie.